I hope that everybody is doing well. I wanted to come to you with a quick video, just some insights. I don't know if you've been following the case of Nolan Wells. He is a young man who was a football player um, and went missing, and his body has recently been discovered. And right now, the investigation is still going. A lot of times, as a psychic medium and intuitive, I don't always speak on cases right away because, number one, the police need to do their investigation, the family needs to mourn and grieve. And number two, whenever somebody says, they're a medium, they're a psychic, they are tapping in to the beyond in terms of what is happening, there is always a possibility that friends, family members, people who love that individual could hear your transmission, could hear what you're saying. So for me, I just feel like it's always important to be very careful about what I say, because he is not just a headline. He is a family member, right? There will be justice, I sense. Not entirely in the way that the public is wanting, but there will be justice. And when I look at this, the way that it's being framed, like what I'm being told from the culprit, and I am feeling one person in particular that is more culpable than anyone else, but there are other people that are guilty by association. But I'm feeling one culprit in particular, and the way that this individual is framing it is trying to say, well, but it was an accident, it was an accident. Um, when I look at this psychically, I do feel like this was a result of jealousy and envy. People often wonder, why do some victims, and he is a victim, why do some victims receive more attention than others? And of course, sometimes it's because a person was already famous, and so we're plugged in because of their fame. Sometimes it's because a person is attractive. Sometimes it's because of their race. If they're an attractive white woman, for example, people might be more pulled into them. But that's not always the only reason. What I've seen, and I'm seeing it with Nolan. I saw it with Shanquella Robinson. Saw it with Gabby Petito, Shanann Watts, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and on and on. When a person's mission is global, when they are meant to touch hundreds of thousands of lives, millions of lives, they are meant to touch those lives in how they live. And if they are not able to fulfill it through how they live, they touch those lives through how they died. Nolan's mission was global. When I tap into him energetically, he feels like a celebrity to me. His energy feels like a celebrity. Now, I'm not saying that he would have become a celebrity necessarily, but he has a magnetism and he has a je ne sais quoi that just can't be taught. Beyond being like kind of a superstar in a way, I get a very strong sense that he was a leader and he was a teacher. Very much so. And I feel he taught through comedy, he taught through laughter, he taught through a variety of different ways. But I say all of this to say he was a very bright light. Not unlike Gabby Petito, not unlike Shanquella Robinson, not unlike Emmett Till. When you have a bright light, you have to understand, and I am not at all admonishing him, okay? I want to be clear. But when you have a bright light, you have to understand that it attracts the light, but it also attracts the dark. And there are people who are jealous and envious. There are people who are spiritually influenced by negative energy and negative forces that will see that bright light, get really insecure, angry, enraged, all the things. And then they will want to snuff that light out because they believe only one person can be the holder or the keeper of that light. So if you know that you have a light, if you know you have a brightness, if you know that you are close to Creator and you walk with Spirit and you know that is living inside of you, you don't have to be rude and nasty to people. I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm telling you from personal experience, there are people who may see your light before you do. They see what you could become before you even could. And there is something inside of them, a jealousy and envy, or something that overcomes them. And then they decide they want to snuff it out because they're out for power and they're out for domination. And I just want to say, you can love people and you can honor people, but you need to put them in their proper place. Do not hold everyone close. I say this in one of my books, and I want to be clear, I'm not mentioning this to sell a book. I want to be clear about that. Just as I'm talking to you, it comes to me that I mentioned that in one of my books. You cannot hold everyone close. The reason I talk about jealousy and envy so much is because jealousy is wanting to have control over another person. Envy is wanting to do what they do. And if the envy metastasizes, it becomes wanting to be that person. You know, we hear this all the time on social media about destiny swapping or people trying to destiny swap. All right. And unfortunately, sometimes if a person cannot be you or they can't control you, they want to snuff folks out. So while, yes, I hear very clearly that there's one particular person involved, it's a male, who says, well, it was just an accident. It was, but it wasn't at the same time. There were underlying emotions and energies towards Nolan that created the situation where he was left stranded and he was abandoned by people. Psychically, I'm not 100% clear if that's going to come out. I'm not seeing in totality if all of it will be laid bare. I do see there's going to be some justice, but not necessarily to the degree of what people are wanting. But I will say, hold his family in prayer because prayer works. It really, really does. I was talking to Creator on one of my morning walks about prayer, and what came through loud and clear was, you know, you can pray alone and you will be heard and that energy will be felt. But if you get into groups and you set that intention and you power it up, it amplifies. So even if, you know, you're reticent to pray with other people, call on your guides, call on your evolved ancestors, and shoot out that rocket of prayer. I think the focus now is really to pray for justice. The other focus is to give his soul safe passage. I don't feel that he wants to leave his mom just yet. I'm not saying that there's a real focus on his mother and not like wanting to leave her. And his soul will cross. He will be welcomed by the ancestors, be welcomed by spirit. That's going to happen. But just pray that his family is able to get through this and able to heal. And more than anything, I just really want to talk about this. If you have jealousy or envy in your heart, you have to work on that and purge that and pull that out and release it and let it go. Because jealousy and envy kills. It really does. I've seen it. I think about Gabby Petito, who was taken from us by her so-called boyfriend. I think about Shanann Watts. I think about Emmett Till. I think about Alton Sterling. I think about George Floyd. I think there's more to that story than what we are actually being told about the relationship between those two men, meaning the killer and George Floyd. Shanquella Robinson. When you are connected to God and you know what your purpose and your mission is, you might feel jealousy, you might feel envy, but if you really stay close to God, that jealousy and envy, you can remove that and release that, and that can dissipate because you are walking in your purpose. I find that the jealousy and envy takes control when people are not walking in their purpose, or they don't even know what their purpose is. And so then instead, they get greedy for power and they get greedy for the spotlight. And if they see someone shining, if they see someone who appears to be strong, sometimes if they see someone that they think is weak that they could just pick off, there's a bloodlust that comes up, and folks start snuffing people out. I don't want to share much more about it, but I just wanted to share that, and I feel like I'm speaking to somebody tonight, a handful of people actually. If you sense that somebody is jealous or envious, if you get away from that person. I don't care if they're your mother. I don't care if they're a friend. I don't care if they're a coworker. Get away from them or limit contact. Do not have jealous, envious, competitive, non-serious people around you who treat everything like a joke. Keep away from those people, because they could be very, very, very dangerous. And the final thing I will say is, if energy or a person, something feels off or weird, don't underestimate that feeling. What Spirit tells me again and again and again is like, weird energy is kind of like vermin, or like a cockroach, for example. If you see one, there's 1,000 behind it. Doesn't matter if it's a little baby cockroach. A lot of times that little piece of energy that you sense, that small vapor of energy that you're feeling, is holding something else. There's something else behind it. And a lot of times that can be very, very dangerous. And I will tell you, I don't really fear spirits, really, right? Because they have to actually influence people in order for negativity to take hold. So it's very rarely that spirits that I fear. I'm often paying attention to people and how people move. Strangely enough, the dead can be pretty respectful, and even the discarnate, spirits, the non-human ones, sometimes they can be respectful if you draw a line. But it's human beings who may be full of jealousy and envy, or get easily influenced or overcome by something that you need to watch. So once again, I'm not at all admonishing Nolan. He was and is a very, very bright light. But I'm just saying, if you are too, you got to walk with like souls and like minds, and be selective with who you share your light with. Ashe.